And we're live once again. It's Mike coming at you from BassGuitarRocks.com. And with me, my guest today is none other than Jason Rasso.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Mike, what's cooking?
Not too much. And today, we are specifically hanging out together because we are talking about the logistics behind going from playing a four-string bass guitar to six strings. And Jason is here because he has recently been converted, I guess. We're going to
Yeah,
call it.
that's one way to put it.
So, just to give some people some background here, Jason, how long have you been playing electric bass?
Oh, about 25 years, I guess. So
Wow.
a lot. Like wow. Yeah. Don't do the math, but I'm getting up there now.
Okay, so 25 years, and for the vast majority of those 25 years, you've been playing more or less exclusively on a four-string bass?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've owned a couple fives over the years, but I had a very crappy six briefly, uh, but not for very long. So, um, yeah, almost exclusively four string. So it's been an adjustment. Let's just let's just say that. But it's been fun. It's I didn't see it I didn't see it coming. That's for sure.
As far as the music that you play, you've been doing solo stuff. You've been doing stuff as part of a sort of a jazz quartet. You got. It seems like you do all kinds of different configurations, three
Yeah,
piece or whatever, right?
yeah. A lot of times it just depends on the gig. It can depend on the venue. It can depend on availability of the other guys. Yeah, you're right. Sometimes it's a solo thing. Sometimes it's a duo, trio. I mean, even five piece at times. So it's um, I my preference is the quartet, uh, but it's not always an option. So you want to be flexible and get out and play when you can. So sometimes you have to change the configuration a little bit.
All right. So playing a four string, you never. I think it's. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you never really felt like you were limited by playing a four string bass.
No, not really. I mean, at times I like for recording and stuff, I tuned down and when I was younger, I kind of experimented with like tuning the bass A, D, G, C, so you'd be like your top four on a six, and I would overdub stuff. But live, you're just used to your instrument. Um, if I ever felt limited on four, it wasn't because of the bass; it was because of me, right? So it's um, you're always pushing to get better, right? So it's not I never really felt limited in that way. Other than at times you'd want to the melody to be a little bit higher, or sometimes you'd mess with the tuning, or um, I play guitar quite a bit too, so sometimes you just overdub a guitar part on there because it just wasn't in your range. So, but it wasn't like I was going, oh, I'm missing these strings, and you know, So that's all. Um, One of the other factors was on the last few five strings I had were all 35-inch scales, and I just couldn't get used to it. Part of it is probably just not playing it enough and kind of keep going back to your four because it's more comfortable. You played it for that 25 years. So I think the last five I had was 35-inch scale, and it always just felt like I was reaching. So um, I wanted, uh, I basically kind of given up on the idea of fives and sixes because everyone I tried is, you know, the norm is a 35-inch scale. So, you know, that definitely was a factor for sure.
Okay, so I guess that leaves us with the question: why the sudden, after 25 years? I know from talking to you, I know that you know a lot of your bass heroes. You know, whether it's like a Marcus Miller or Billy Sheehan. You know, these guys are predominantly four stringers as well. So what prompted this change?
Yeah, well, it's funny. As I've been working on a lot of the solo material, is when I started to kind of think more about the range. Um, Whether I was looping something, sometimes you just want that melody to be a little bit higher, or the chord that you're playing. Plus, also on the low end, sometimes you want a little bit of a low note. So I found when I was looping bass parts, I didn't, I was kind of getting a little bit of a muddy sound. So my solution was I was going to go back to stringing up a 4 A, D, G, C. That was kind of my plan to get some of the recording stuff done. But even then, I thought, I don't know how I'm going to do that live. I don't want to be switching basses every 5 minutes or every, a couple times within a song, because if I lay down something with the low bass and you want to pick up,
Yeah.
the one that's tuned higher, I thought, I don't know how that's going to work live, but that was my initial plan to kind of handle some of this looping stuff. And then it kind of all got thrown out the window with a trip over to F-Bass, and things escalated very quickly. So I went down.
So even as you were, thinking about, I guess for anyone that's not familiar, you put out a CD last year, which was with the quartet, but then this year you've been working on solo arrangements again and playing them live and different things like this. So even though like you were kind of hinting at you're thinking about different arrangements and different kind of technicalities of trying to pull this off live, your gut reaction wasn't just, okay, well, I'll get a 6. You were still kind of thinking, string up the 4 a different way, or maybe somehow I'll have 2 or something, right? So
yeah, absolutely. There I had no thought of a 6. At any point during that did I think I need a 6-string bass. And I'm lucky too, because I've over the last few years with kind of working with Dave over at Ultimate Basses, I've played all kinds of killer 6-strings, right? Fodera comes through, or an MTD, and they sound awesome and they're gorgeous, but they just felt gigantic. So I just never, it never crossed my mind once during that time that it would be, I would make a move to a 6.
Okay, so you're going to F-Bass, and just a reference for people, you didn't just wake up one day and said, I'm going to go to F-Bass. How did this trip to F-Bass happen?
Well, it was very fluky. A friend of mine called me kind of early in the week and said, would you go with me down to F-Bass? And he was considering maybe ordering one, and wanted to talk to George about options and all that stuff. So I said, well, yeah, okay, whatever, I'll go with you. Check them out. I had met George, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and thought, it'd be nice to see George again. So I went down with him, just to go with him, and that's how I ended up in the shop. And again, it was just a fluke, and sat down and played through a few basses. My buddy tried a bunch of stuff, and And then George said, you know, you got to try this bass. It's a 6-string, it's a BN6, and it's a 33-inch scale, so it's a short scale 6. And as soon as I picked it up, I was like, oh no, I'm in trouble now. And I don't know, it just clicked. It felt comfortable. All the notes I'd been looking for the chords were there, and it had the low B, and again, this was not thought out at all. It was just a complete fluke. But you know, I love the bass. I mean, I've had it now for I guess a month and a half or so, and it sounds awesome, and it plays great, and it's super comfortable. It's you know, couldn't be happier with it.
Okay, well, before the 6-string makes a guest appearance on camera, I was just going to ask, what are some of the adjustments that you've had to make in terms of, like, the physical adjustments that you make? You talked about this is a short scale bass, so that just means the neck isn't as long, like you were saying earlier about 35-inch scale. Obviously, if it's 35 inches, it's longer than if it's 33 inches, so you're not reaching as far.
Absolutely.
And but I mean, aside from that, like having like, have you had to make adjustments in terms of like your equipment, like the way you EQ your amp or anything like that, or even how you adjust, like how you wear the instrument? Is it up higher, or
right?
That kind of stuff, you know?
Right. Well, I'll go through a couple of the things there. Strap length, I didn't really change anything. That's been pretty consistent, so I try not to mess around too much with my strap length. In terms of my plucking hand has probably been the biggest adjustment, physically. Tone-wise, I haven't used it on enough gigs yet, so I haven't messed around too much with the EQ and the amp. We have some quartet gigs coming up, so October I'll get a chance to try it in a duo setting, a solo setting, and a quartet setting. So I'll have a kind of a better idea at the end there how it's sounding live. I used it on a trio gig at the end of September, at the beginning of September, and it sounded great. But the EQ, I'm sure I'll mess with a little bit as we go. But I've done some recording with it now, and you know, I'm a pretty, you know, EQ wise, I like things set flat pretty much, so I don't mess around too much EQ anyway. I'm just trying to get a clean sound. The one thing about the F-bass is that I've noticed, even just comparing it to some of the other basses that I've played in the last little while, it's so clear, the tone. It's unbelievable. It's almost like someone's taking a blanket off your amp, and you're just like, I can't believe how crisp it sounds. Which is so it's been an adjustment. Just going back to the plucking hand, it's just muting. I've had, you know, an adjustment with, you know, you've got this B on the bottom, and it's pretty sensitive to just start ringing out. So I've had to kind of adjust my technique. I've been trying a couple different things where I've been checking out John Patitucci's technique a little bit. Who's a kind of a 6-string jazz guy, he's been around forever. He's just a monster player. So he's got some interesting ways that he mutes it versus, say, Alain Caron, who's got kind of a different take on it. So, you know, I'm just trying to make sure that it's not rattling all the time. So that's been the biggest adjustment. The slap has been a bit of an adjustment. It's a little bit of a tighter spacing, and you know, but also then just learning patterns. you know, whether it's chord patterns are different because I never had that range before, or I can extend, you know, my 4-string patterns up and down, right? So that's the way I've approached it so far, but I'm also hoping at some point to grab a few lessons from some 6-string guys in the area and get their take on it. So I really feel like it's kind of a new, you know, adventure. So it's you know, there's still tons of work to do. So so far it's been fun. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we probably kept anybody in suspense long enough. So let's see the F bass here. And
yes. So this is the BN6 here.
Yeah.
So yeah, 33-inch scale, 24 frets. It's an ash body, but with the alder kind of block in the middle. Asian ebony board, and yeah, it's just a gorgeous bass. Love the headstock, and it just plays awesome. But you know, I just got to keep playing it and get used to it. It's just a killer instrument, and you know, George down there is just making smoking basses. So couldn't be happier with it.
Well, I'm definitely I'm a huge F bass fan myself. I owned one for a short time, and I hope to have one again in a too distant future. But the other thing I just wanted to say, well, I mean, for anyone who doesn't know about F bass, we're lucky because we only live about an hour north, not even quite an hour away from them. They're in Hamilton. They do everything by hand. Even the pickups are wound. I believe they're wound by hand. If you get the BN series,
right.
The vintage series are not.
Yeah, some other pickups, but yeah, I mean that was a big factor for me too. Was just that they're right close by, right? I mean,
yeah.
You know, I got some recording coming up again, so like I said, I've had the bass for a little while. I've kind of gotten used to it, and I'll drive down this Friday and George is going to set it up, and we'll get some new strings on it and stuff, and just to have that option is amazing, you know, and you know, so yeah, just a complete fluke, but it's great.
I was going to ask you before you put the bass away if you wanted to show off the through body stringing that. This is George General. This has sort of been a bit of an experiment with George, right? Because they don't typically offer a short scale version of the instrument, right? So
right.
See it?
So, see, there's the string through on the back. It's interesting too because the way he's got it strung up is that he's only put the B string and the E string through the body. The other ones are just strung through the bridge. I think the idea was that when you shorten the scale length, that it would make the B a little bit floppy. It would be not enough tension. So I think the string through was made to kind of give you a little bit more tension on your B because it's traveling through the body. And the B is killer. I mean,
yeah.
You know, I've played some fives before where it's so floppy. It's, you know, it's almost useless. You know, but this one, again, as soon as I played it, it was just, you know, felt great. And it just, you know, I don't feel like I'm reaching at all, you know, so it's been really cool, and that seems like a really cool option. I mean, they're doing some really cool things with short scale. One of the times I was down there in the last couple months was Marcel had George's son had built one. It was kind of a short scale vintage bass. And I can't remember what the scale length was, but might have been 29, and it was just smoking. And again, kind of a string through, and the tension was great. So sometimes on the short scales you lose a little bit, but whatever they're doing over there is working. So they're making killer stuff. So.
Well, that's what I like about I like about George is he's got some set recipes that are like his own, but then he's always experimenting. He's always trying new things. So that's really cool.
Kind of for them is the neck through stuff. I mean, they hadn't done, a lot of their stuff's been bolt on. So the last time he showed me one of the I don't know, I'm sure he's done a few, but I guess the most recent neck through, and man, it's gorgeous. So he's it's funny too, because I think in Canada we don't know about him as much as we should, maybe, and maybe because of that, because he is in Canada, maybe they don't know enough about him in the States even. I honestly think if he was in New York, he'd be, one of the top. Well, I think he is one of the top builders, but I'm not sure he's as known as he should be. But from what he told me, just he didn't want to be down there. He wanted to be up here in Canada, and I think that's great.
Oh, it's good for us.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap up, but before we go, how about you mentioned that you had a couple of shows coming up in October. Do you have like for some firm dates, if you could just share them in case anyone locally wants to come up and hear this F-Bass and see it live?
Yeah, October 10th I'll be in St. Jacobs doing a duo gig with Brent Rowan on sax. That's at a restaurant called DH, and nice place, and it'll be a fun gig. Lots of chords, and so it's a chance to get the six out. October 18th, we're actually playing the Children's Foundation Gala at the Delta, so it's a great event to help the Children's Foundation. So I'm excited about that. I think it's a Las Vegas theme this year, so it should be fun. October 23rd, we're playing the noon hour concert at the University of Guelph. That'll be the quartet. So that's going to be a fun event. And then October 25th at the Long and McQuaid in Guelph, I have a bass, kind of a solo performance in a workshop. So it's basically a free clinic at 3 o'clock that day. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a chance to play some of the solo stuff and answer some questions and tell people to practice more. So always a fun event. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Actually, the other thing I was just going to let you know, one of your new songs, is it called Spinning Forth?
Yes.
Right. So I noticed on your site, which happens to be jasonrassomusic.com or jasonrassomusic.com, you have two versions of that song. You've got the version where you recorded it with your Federa, I believe, and with the F-Bass. So I thought wherever I end up putting this video, I'm going to include those two clips so that someone can kind of see. I think it's kind of neat to see you playing the exact same song, but now you'll be playing it on the F-Bass as well. So
you know what? Those two versions are a great example of kind of what I was after. In the sixth, I just feel like it's comes to life a little bit more in the tune. The melody, I think, jumps out a little bit more because of that high C string, and I was happy with the tune. I wrote the tune before the six showed up, and it just lent itself really well to the 6 right away. So I'm happy with that tune for sure.
Good, because that's the one we're going to show.
Okay.
So anyway, so thanks a lot for doing this, Jason, and we'll definitely be in touch again soon. And good luck with the shows. And if hopefully, if my schedule permits, I'll check out some of. I'd like to definitely check out your clinic there at Long McQuaid.
Yeah, come on out. That'd be great.
All right, we'll talk later.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye-bye.